What's up, Supertramp fans? Welcome to the Classic Quest podcast. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and joining me over there somewhere, I think he's down from me, is
It's
what's your
Chris
name?
Chrome.
Awesome,
What
thanks,
up?
Chris Chrome.
What up?
Supertramp fans, I know that we're gonna be here. We're gonna be doing our little album review for Breakfast in America, and you may be wondering, because we go through this sometimes, why is this happening? Well, I'll tell you why this is happening, Supertramp fans. Welcome to the Classic Quest, the show where we go through tracks mostly of the hip hop variety, not exclusively though. You know, we go through the albums track by track and we give our thoughts and opinions on every song. And if you do mess with what we do, subscribe, like, comment, share all the stuff. You'll clip it, make fun of us, make reaction videos about our reactions, and then you'll bring it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All that to say, Lindell paid us to do this through patreon.com/behind that suit. So if you want to see us talk about albums, you can go ahead and do that too. Patreon.com/behind that suit. And if you're a local person wanting your album review, you should do it now before the price goes up. With that being said, this is the whole point of the show. We talk about music. You know, you can check the channel to see all the stuff we talked about. And today, Supertramp's Breakfast in America. We do feel it's fair to contextualize our familiarity with the artists that we talk about because we know that you, Supertramp fan, you're not watching a video this long unless you like this album. So we know that coming into this. So Chris, tell us about your Supertramp stuff before going into this project, what you knew about it, etc.
So it's really whack because I didn't know the name, and I didn't know the name. But then I listened to the album, and I'm like, I've heard multiple of these songs. I've heard
Facts. So
like
many
just
of
the
them.
songs. Yeah. Like within movies, shows, references, like little memes and shit like that. Like
Gym
I've
Class
heard.
Heroes. Let's be honest. I'm like, oh, this
Yes.
is the album
Yeah.
with the Gym Class
Yeah.
Heroes song.
Which is actually fucking funny. You were like, yeah, we're reviewing, Supertramp, and I was like, okay, this album, Breakfast in America. So I search it on Spotify, click the song itself, and that happens to be the first song with that intro to like essentially my first experience to that,
I
and it's
have
just like the biggest reference that slapped me in the face. So that was
honestly,
cool.
I just have vivid memories of my dad loving the Gym Class Hero song because he liked Supertramp like that. And that's all I knew about Supertramp going into this
Fair.
album was not the name of the song. I couldn't have told you what that song was called. I'm aware of
Mhm.
what the song's called now. It's apparently on this album. But I'm like, I like that one Gym Class Heroes joint. And then I'm pretty sure I've listened to the original like once or twice and was like, eh. Because back in the day, my musical palette wasn't exactly where it is today. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, man, I just figured Supertramp was like my dad's music. You know, like apparently my mom really likes this album. She got really excited when I posted we were doing this. I'm like, wow, my mom does not get excited about the album reviews we do, but she was all down for the Logical song. And I'm like, say a word. This really is my parents' music, which probably explains like you, when I listen to the project, I'm like, oh, I know this song. Oh, I know this
That's
song. I'm like,
it.
it just kept happening.
I don't really remember maybe listening to these in like my house, but like this is definitely like songs that I've heard, and we'll go through the songs obviously, but like certain choruses, certain like things or shit that I've heard from like movies and stuff growing up too, like it just how people use these songs to like give you the atmosphere and shit like that. So it's like it was
Bro,
cool to be like, oh shit, I know this, but at the same time, I don't know this. I'd never really like know this. Like I've never dived into this project or like gone to see this band or listen to their shit.
I mean, this album dropped in '79, as I understand it. This
Yeah.
is this is definitely a little bit before my time. Like I was not a conception point in my parents' brains yet. You know, they were still busy listening to Supertramp. Um, I mean, they still do apparently. So, it's pretty timeless music to a whole last generation of people, and that makes me more curious about it. And I mean, spoilers, I kind of like it. So, all y'all watching, wondering if I'm gonna be a hater, I might be ignorant, but not a hater about it. What do you think about this cover and the title of the album, Breakfast in America?
Thought it was interesting. From the cover itself, I got like they're clearly. I felt like they were touring. They're going to the States. I feel like for some reason, and I should have looked this up, and I'm gonna feel like a fucking idiot.
Are you gonna be an
but they're
idiot?
from the UK.
They are from the UK.
I was so sure, but I just don't want to look stupid on certain shit.
So
And I should have looked it up. I should have looked it up. No, I admit that.
okay,
Anyway,
okay, move on.
um, but no, I felt like they were like going on tour, traveling, going to the States, and it was going to be like a project about their just adventures, um, while being the band and touring. Like that's kind of what I got from that. Breakfast in America. Thought it was a cool little title. Thought it was just like something that we can all relate to. Breakfast, but I guess like a different place if you've never been. So that was like cool too. I like the coloring. I like everything about it. It's dope.
Mm. I thought it was gonna be satire, like them cheeky UK folk coming at Americans. When I heard the title, especially with that cover, right? Because it kind of looks like a plastic America. Fun fact: that lady on the cover lived till at least 97 years old. She may have lived longer. I don't know when that article I found that said she was 97 came out, but that's cool that that lady had a very long life after being the model on this album cover. But looking into the project briefly, as in like I read a couple things here and there. Uh, Apparently, any satirical intent was misconstrued, and it isn't satire. In fact, they are adamant it's not. That doesn't mean it's not. It just means they're adamant it's not. But you know, artists be artists. But what I thought was super interesting was one of the writer dudes was describing how during the creation process, the original vision of the album was perceived as too bleak and dark, and arguably, they reformatted a lot of the music to be more fun so it would sell better. And I'm just sitting there going, huh, 1979, they're having the same ass conversation we having today. Ain't shit changed. And then the album's brilliant, right? Like, but the idea that they had to sit there and consider how to make it a palatable, sellable album that deviated away from the original vision is just a fascinating tidbit. So I was like, that's real cool. Anyway, I don't have a lot more to say about it. We can get into the project. I do like the aesthetic of the cover. I feel like it's, oh shit, it's like looking out an airplane window too, like at this perception of America. Yeah, how could anybody not think this isn't satire? Like, this just looks like satire. Everything about this looks like a satirical take on America. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about the very first song on the project, Gone Hollywood. All right, Chris, talk to us. Tell us about your feelings when you went Hollywood with Supertramp.
This song's fire. I think it's
Fuego.
a really good intro. I think it does bring you into the atmosphere of like traveling and like this aspect of going to a new place. I like how from the song I get this aspect of like hyping up Hollywood and having these big dreams about it, and then going like with your chasing your dream of like becoming famous or and making music and all this stuff. Um, Coming to Hollywood and realizing that it's not actually what you think it is as you're on this journey. Like in verse one, it's just heartbreaking. I should have known it would have let me down. It's just mid aching. I used to dream about this town. I get like
Mind
he's kind of
aching.
coming to realization that like it's not really the life he always thought it was. That it's completely different. Um, Same thing about in like verse two, but what I liked was I used to think it that it would feel so good, but who's to blame about it? So many creeps in Hollywood, and I'm like, okay, you're starting to see that Hollywood isn't so glamorous and isn't so like lights and bells as you always think. Uh, I'm in this dumb motel near the Taco Bell. I thought that was funny, but like still kind of really relatable, I guess. Like it's just so normal. Like you're not in this rich, lavish place. You're not in like this 5 star that I can't achieve. It's like you're in some corner motel next to the Taco Bell.
Bro, it's like
Um,
this is where the fuck we is in our career.
Basically, like it's so like yeah, that's
I'm like,
literally where
bro,
we're
the
at.
hotels we staying at is not that nice. It's the what we can afford version.
Anyway, but I like how in the chorus it's like ain't nothing new in my life today, ain't nothing true, it's all gone away. And I like how he's kind of just being like, wow, I made it this far. I made it to a place that I've been dreaming to make it, and I'm still feeling the same. I'm still like, what
God,
the
that's
fuck is going on?
I don't even mean to cut you off, but like, bro, when that lyric hit, I'm like, That is just a more concise way of describing 60% of my music in 2 lines. I'm like, fuck, that's real concise. Like that line, and the way he sings it, oh my God, it slaps. Anyway.
I mean, even well, just with that, the alternative verse, right? Like it kind of gives off this aspect of like what he's been through before, like what he's been through and kind of going through on his journey, right? Like I've been too much crying, grief. I'm sick of doing this. I'm beyond belief. I don't want to like. I'm trying to make it and it's just not working. And I feel like that kind of still brings back that like this life that everyone thinks exists isn't really what exists. Now, what's cool is when you go through the song and there's like really great instrumentals, and I love the fact that it's live instruments and just it's just sounds
I mean, it's a
different. It's
band,
way
broski.
better. It's great. It's great. But I like how in the third verse, it's like he's achieved the success,
Yeah.
but it's still heartbreaking, right? Like it was heartbreaking. Now I ride in this big fine car. It was mind aching. I'm the talk of the boulevard. So keep your chin up, boy. Forget the pain. I know you'll make it if you try again. I'm just gonna finish it. What's the use in quitting when the world is waiting for you? And you're just like, shit. Like I got this sense of once you finally succeed and you achieve what it is you've been working so hard for, it's like you're still kind of like, oh well, I'm still empty inside a little bit,
I kind of
but
took it like a little different, right? Because he's like, I'm the talk of the boulevard, so keep your chin up, boy, forget the pain. Like, it almost sounds like now he's kind of famous, and this third verse is more dedicated to like some younger version of him that's like in the grind right now, and he's being like, yo, it is trash, don't get me wrong, but check the Lamborghini, my G. Check the
yeah,
Tesla.
I see. I see what you're saying there.
I don't
I thought
actually
it was
know if he
great.
was thinking check the Tesla back then, is all I'm saying.
I think it was great. I really do like. It was a really good intro to the project. Really strong and just, I this. It was so cool to realize the difference between like digital production and like just the band and the live instruments. Like there is this sort of energy and just sound that is just so great to me. So I really did like it. I gave it like a 4.2 something like that. Oh,
Fair.
yeah, I'll go
I
with that.
think by digital production, what you mean is people making beats versus instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Gone
No, like
Hollywood.
hate to beat, right? It's like no hate on beat makers. It's just like
Nah,
there
B, I
is that
like all they make
difference.
there. It's like electronic dance music's lit, and then
Hmm.
live music is lit, and then all these different things are lit. They're all just different, you know? But
Hmm.
I was listening to this project. I'm gonna get this out the way. I totally get after hearing a bunch of the Supertramp tracks, so it wasn't just like this one. Why a lot of people may look at some of the music we make and be like, "That's not musical," because motherfuckers was, I guess, musical when they made this shit. Like, I don't know how to fully describe it because all of that's just some ignorant ass talk to me. But like it kind of added this perspective of the level of layering and precision and specific details in this progressive nature of the song as it evolves, right? So like it starts off like in like we'll call it the dream phase of the song and him getting into this like Hollywood and almost, and if you think about it, like you're coming from there, you get all these perceptions of what it's gonna be like when you get there, and then you're just heartbroken about a whole situation. And the way he's singing it too, like it's almost like a bit of an aggressive tone with it, like his defenses and shit are up and it's not like the happiest feeling, and it just kind of rides through it. But what really caught me was the way that the music just kind of plays out for a hot minute. Like it's a couple of minutes of just instrumental, and it almost creates this like tension where you can picture the montage of man's on the grind doing his shit, just followed by the ain't nothing new, right? Like it just kind of like blasts into that, and you're like, man, you just feel how the music kind of plays this heavy component in the storytelling of the song. And like, bro, don't ask me to tell you about the fucking guitar techniques and shit, but the way they layered all that shit together is so beautiful in terms of capturing the emotional tone of this song, but also making it feel cinematic in the way that it explodes. And like, yo, it's not really the kind of genre I would throw on. Like, high key, I don't know how much I would throw this on. There's other joints where I really do like them better, but I can't help but stop and wonder how amazingly well composed this song is, and while I am in the, listening to it, how much it takes me into this headspace where I can just relate and empathize with the overall feeling of disappointment, with your stereotypical perception of the society that you're trying to integrate in. Like, let's be real, everybody want to be in the music scene until you get into the music scene and find out how, you know, how creepy everybody kind of moves and behaves when everyone's a little cutthroat and a lot of things are really about a dollar and nobody really care about the art above a certain tier, you know? Like, a lot of things is different. And then you realize, like, the monotony of things in your life on the grind as you pursue things. And it's like, I felt myself really just empathizing with it. But then apparently it just ends on this note where time passes again. You know, there's more music and shit. It just changes the energy of the song. And then all of a sudden you're winning. And you're like thinking back on like it's all worth it. Apparently the original version of the lyrics was mad bleak, and they were like, nah, let's give it a happy ending. And it was like peer pressured into a happy ending. And that the original version, you know, I didn't hear that, but you know, like I said, I read a couple things and that's what I got. That's what I'm saying. Apparently I don't even remember where I read it. It was on the internet in interviews with people related to this project. I digress. This shit's brilliantly composed. Honestly, it's like a 4.75. It doesn't even matter if I think it's like a song I would bump a lot. It's like, it's impossible for me to jump onto this shit, hear this song and be like, nah, this is anything other than an impeccably well put together composition, actually invoking some satirical criticisms of, like, it almost feels like a cheap movie plot version of the American dream boiled down into an actor or whoever achieving success. And it feels like if you didn't live in America, this is the bullet point version of what it looks like based on Hollywood. So I fucking love that angle of it. And if it wasn't actually satire, it just fucking comes off like a brilliant satire, and I really like it because it's just such a superficial perspective of it all while still touching into the real depth of everything. So I feel like they weren't trying, but they made it just perfect because of that. So it's brilliant. It made me really excited to hear the rest of the album. I'm not even going to lie. So I guess we can move on to the next one, which is The Logical Song, which apparently has some music videos.
You started.
Chris, talk to us about The Logical Song.
I really enjoyed this, dude. This like up tempo beat and this like little bop it has is so fun, and I was just like jiving the whole time. But what I like about it is how it's like reminiscing on growing up in the world and being so like innocent as a young one, and then realizing that the world isn't so like unicorns and cotton candy as everyone may think it may be. And then like it's really cool. Like when I was young, is seeing that life was so wonderful, a miracle. Oh, it was beautiful, magical. And then you get this like, yeah, we're in this beautiful, amazing place. But then I like
I
how
just
it's
gotta
like,
add to it. I gotta add to it. It's not just
yeah.
what he's saying, man. You gotta give credit to like how he's saying it, right? Because like
Right.
there's like this degree of almost like exasperation or something in his voice. Like when I was young, it was like so wonderful, a miracle. Like the way it's like downgrading on notes and shit. It doesn't have like this super positive spin on the energy, right? It's got something more like making fun of these ideas of what he was told, and like it's really well fucking done.
Well, it's all like even near the end of the first verse, he goes, and
Yeah,
then they
thanks for the
showed me.
follow, Olivia.
Shout out, shout out. And then they showed me a world where I could be so dependable, oh clinical, oh intellectual, cynical. And you're like, I like how he kind of does that contrast between what we thought was, and then like what they're showing us as you get older. Um, and it's really cool. Like I don't want to really kind of go through all of the lines. Verse 2, like I said, watch what you say, or they'll be calling you a radical, a liberal, or a fanatical, a criminal. And it's just like I thought of that, the line of being like radical. And I was like, yeah, I think that kind of relates a little bit to where we live now, where like we're all kind of watching what we say, so we're not super offensive and we're not like saying super crazy things. But I think that also limits us with
Bro,
like
we just
ideas and
so like
conversational points.
I feel like anybody that want to talk about cancel culture in the modern context and act like it's a fresh and new idea should just literally listen to this song and be like, oh, that sounds mad familiar. That sounds
Oh,
like YouTubers and shit talking about this stuff. Like, I'm not saying it's exactly the same thing. I'll talk more on it maybe a
yeah.
little later, but I just had to throw that in. I'm like, sometimes it's wild what you find when you actually just dig into the past and see what your parents were like. Because this is what our parents were like, at least in our case, and maybe your grandparents, depending on your age and when you watch this.
Like even things like, oh, won't you sign up your name? We'd like to feel you're acceptable, respectable, oh, presentable, a vegetable. And just the way he was like, oh, take it. Yeah, it's like just the way like we're forced marketing down our throats and like signing up for like shit and like subscriptions and stuff, like just the way like we live in society. I really felt this song was a commentary on life, and it still is represented in today.
See what I'm
Like
saying? They're like, no, it's not a satire. I'm like, get the fuck out
bro,
of here,
like
Supertramp.
1979 is like representative of 2023. Shit doesn't really change. It's just new coding and shiny shit. Like anyway, the instrumental bridge is dope. It kind of gives you this like break from the song, and I feel like it adds this layer of like thinking and kind of like really soaking up what he was saying. I like how in the chorus he's like questioning how like who am I, trying to find like his purpose, and like that's so relatable as well. Like I feel maybe because I'm an artist, I'm trying to figure out my place in this world or whatever, but just even as a person, like as just somebody in this world existing, it's like I feel a lot of people, or at least I like to believe a lot of people struggle with figuring out where they belong in this world, who they are, what's their purpose. And I feel like that's what I related so much to this. When he was saying that, like just questioning who am I and looking for this reason and this like thing to continue. So I did really enjoy that. And then I like the outro how he's just like, because I was feeling so illogical, digital, and I'm like,
Bro, what's different about today versus 1979?
yo, bro, like I'm just staring at my phone, like, bro, what is happening? So, no, this is really great. Like this is like a 4.7 on 5. It's a vibe. It's everything. Yeah, like it's great. It's great.
So, like, I definitely went into this album like, fucking Lindell wants us to review fucking Supertramp. The fuck am I going to say about Supertramp? Oh my gosh, them 70s people are usually not nice to us. And then this song came on, and I'm like, oh, I know this song. Like, it was like, oh, say word, this is Supertramp. And I was like, okay, I see it, I see. And then I really listened to it, and I'm like, damn, this is like a perfect fucking song. Like, it's so well composed, and like it's crazy to me because like I'm 35, right? So I'm definitely at that age where you're like old enough to know that everybody lied to you and shit. Apparently I grew up to this song. I'm not going to dispute that. My moms would know better than I would what I was listening to when I was a little kid.
Shout out Mumsy in the chat.
But like when you bump this shit, it really is just like one of those generational coming of age moments where like you think back to your youth and everything was such a great shit. Like I'm literally writing a song that is effectively conceptually this song about millennial angst related to the bullshit we were force fed. And now I'm like reading this and I'm like, wow, it's the same motherfucking song, honestly. Because I feel like the little Gen Z ones are going to grow up and have the same moments. If anything, like I feel like this could have been written by somebody on TikTok today, gone viral in terms of the actual content, because like it's so universal. And I think that's incredibly interesting. Like we all are kids and we like, you know, grow up with nature, our various surroundings and whatever is localized to when we're little, and we start to learn how to behave in a proper society and shit. And then you grow up and you have this like sense of the everything ain't proper because, you know, like you perceive a bunch of shit in the world. You go about your day, you probably see homeless people, you probably see trash if you're in a major metropolis like I am. Like, Montreal's kind of dirty, let's be real. See all kinds of stuff where it's like this isn't really like the people doing their part like you see. And then you grow up believing you're supposed to be this unique individual, and effectively you hit the middle class, because let's be real, most people just hit the middle class on a statistic level and find out that all you're supposed to do is conform to a greater system. Back in the day, you couldn't have hair like this. So guess what? Now that they're all 50 and in charge, They're mad I have hair like this. It's the stupidest shit ever. They literally made rock songs about not having like having to cut their hair, so they all had to cut their hair to get paid, and they mad that I didn't have to cut my hair to get paid. It's some weird shit that you see happening. Y'all might think that's some fake shit, but go ask a bunch of 55-year-olds how they feel about long hair and watch them have a pained look on their face as they remember the times they couldn't have it and shit. It's some weird shit. But if you try to like step against the grain, you're like punished on some dollar shit. Like, you can call it cancel culture, whatever you want to call it, but like, this is not new. Like, you're supposed to go to work, behave according to the culture, be whatever. And if you really want to run it back, if you really want to talk that histories, Google what happened in America when there was, I think it was the 30s or 40s, maybe it's a little later, but they basically just accused a bunch of artists and influential people of being communist and put a bunch of motherfuckers in jail and shit. So it's like, it's not even historically unprecedented. Canada did shit like that too. Don't even play like we're innocent. That's how governments be. They create these philosophies, they vilify people, and it's really like, most recently, anti-vaxxers were in theory a group of people who maybe I don't agree with, but were at a systemic level treated in the exact same way as being described in this song. I don't agree with them. I think they don't know fuck all about math. Thus, their opinions on math-based topics are kind of pointless, but they were radicalized and made to feel fanatical and shit. Anyway, I felt like it's super cool. And then just the existential kind of questioning who I am and trying to figure everything out in the bigger picture. Like, I don't know, man. This song just hits on a whole bunch of stuff. And then there's all the musical elements where it's just really catchy, full of hooks, really a cool song. There's cowbell in it. Definitely cowbell, which is like I want to pretend like I wasn't like cowbell. That's a stereotype. But I guess at a point, like, that must have been the shit or whatever. So if anyone want to run me through on that, how they feel about cowbell in the comments, like from that era, I think your opinion would be way more important than mine. Because to me, like, by the time I like was of age and shit, cowbell was a bit of a joke in music. I digress. This song's a super interesting banger. Like, it just got me thinking about a bunch of shit and just thinking about like how the passage of time is like generationally we just all kind of struggle with the same shit. It makes me wonder if like people in the 1700s wasn't banging out shit like this, you know? Anyway.
I wanted to say something really quickly because I was scrolling through some of the lyrics. And chorus 1, there are times when all the world's asleep, the questions run too deep for much a simple man. Won't you please tell me what we've learned? And what I liked was about like how he addresses the staying up late and like having these like personal questions and like deep thoughts and stuff. And I really attached to that because for me, it's like I kind of enjoy having conversations with people in that time of the night period. And I saw this somewhere like on the internet, whether Facebook, Tumblr, or whatever fucking social media, and it was like the 3 a.m. conversations you have with people are so honest because like we're just in this weird like vulnerable state. I believe, and I like how I like that how he said that. It kind of made me think of that, and I liked how that connected. And I think there is an impact to like having certain thoughts at these time of nights that people don't really talk about, and the way that he like expressed it does, I think for me personally, makes me feel like, okay, I'm not super crazy. And I just wanted to kind of say that for other people who may have like caught on to that.
And also that digital point, because like Lindell brought up there in the 60s, anything was, I think what he was saying coming out of especially the 60s and the late 70s, everything was more digital. I would argue that in my motherfucking lifetime, I have watched the shit go from dial-up to live streaming. Like, it's more digital now than it ever done been. I can only empathize with what people who grew up like, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was on YouTube at 18. So like, but yo, I can only imagine how it would be like when you're older and shit. But this feeling here, man, like, yo, it's nothing like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was offline video gaming. It was really like that, you know? Anyway, this shit's like a 5. I mean, the more I listened to this song, the more I liked it. I'm not gonna lie, I want to go back to logical song moment on the album because I did. I couldn't even keep progressing because I had to run it back one time. So if that's not a 5, I don't know what else is a 5. But no, genuinely, I don't see any flaw in this song, and I think it really is one of those rare songs that just taps into a universality that like is fucking crazy. And really, I'm gonna bring this shit up so much when I'm arguing with people about shit on topics like this in the future. Anyway, Goodbye, Stranger. I dead ass like this song. Whoops. I dead ass like. Fuck off, Holden. I dead ass like this song a lot more today than I did yesterday. Say what you will. Go, Chris. Tell us about Goodbye, Stranger.
Um, it's it's one of those songs that like grows on you. You kind of I feel like for myself, I have to listen to it multiple times before I can really like I guess appreciate it or get into it. Because off the first couple of listens, I was kind of just like I just wasn't really feeling it. Like I really enjoy the whistling. I enjoy the instruments. I enjoy the vibe. I enjoy the up tempo, the like the chaotic nature within the song that plays on this like from what I understand throughout the song is like he's kind of talking about experiences with women and how he's like dealing with like sleeping with them and then like leaving in the morning and trying to like figure out what he wants to do. And I do think there's this little play on maybe smoking weed because it's like Mary and Jane, and maybe I'm like reaching, but I do
Nah,
think there's a
I don't
play
know
on
if you're
that
reaching,
there.
bro. As much as okay, like a lot of these kinds of songs, like
Mm.
yo, it's just an addiction to some wildlife shit, bro. If he's banging a bunch of broads and leaving in the morning, or he's sneaking off to get high, I feel like the lyrics can apply to both scenarios, and that's what makes this kind of shit nicely written.
I
But
mean, like Phil
goodbye,
knows.
Mary. Goodbye, Jay. I'm like, I mean,
So like in the chorus, right? It goes, tried to see your point of view, hope your dreams will all come true. Goodbye, Mary, goodbye, Jane. We ever meet again?
now
And I like how with that line specifically, it's like, okay, you could be talking to these different women and wanting to like see them again, but also when's the next time I gonna get high? Is kind of how I'm taking that.
you know,
Like, when am
like
I gonna indulge in this like thing?
or like just
Um,
that like lifestyle, that like situational thing, like
mm,
goodbye stranger. Yeah, it could be a person. But how many people written love songs to drugs, especially in
but
this
like,
era of people being like people in the 70s just did drugs different. Like they can judge us all they
um,
want, but they did
I,
drugs
I
different.
mean, you could
You'll
also
get your
argue
pops to
like
like tell you about them 70s days of acid and shit.
I mean, my pops was cool and like kind of straight edge. He didn't really he
Oh
knew
man.
people, but like he wasn't really into that life.
Every now and
So
again my dad'll get in his I'm busting out the stories phase. I'm like, bro, you did some shit.
you want to talk about some drinking? We could have some drinking stories, but like acid and other drugs, nah. My dad was like, "I'm cool. I'm gonna go shoot some hoops and drink."
My dad's like,
Anyway,
back in the
yeah.
70s, hash was the shit. Everybody had hash. Nobody was smoking weed like that. It was all about hash. And I'm like, okay.
But like you could also say, even with like Sweet Devotion, Goodbye Mary, it's not for me, Goodbye Jane. The way that he's like even having the ad libs play on to how he's saying that sentence, it's like it feels like he is kind of talking to maybe like weed, and he's like, I gotta say no, I gotta let go, and maybe
It's
not
just
weed, but
not
again
for
that
me.
lifestyle,
But yo, that's
right?
just that
So.
it's not for me, right? Like how many people you
Mhm.
done seen smoked a bunch of weed for a hot minute, didn't realize they don't like how it feels, they get a bit too anxious, they don't
Mhm.
perform in optimal capacities, and they'll literally just say shit like it's not for me. You know?
Absolutely. And I do think that it's a really interesting song in the way that he just you can kind of parallel it on both sides. But overall, I felt there was this weird like something blocking me with this song. Like I kept getting distracted and then pulled back in and then getting distracted and then pulled back in. It there was something that lacked at least my personal focus to like really be like, oh, everything is super cool. So I did land this at like a 3.9 for me, just because like yeah, but that's it.
I like this song.
And it's all on five, by the way. It's like 3.9 on five. Just sure clear for everybody.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I don't think anybody's hearing me call a brilliant song a 4.75 or whatever and being like, oh, that's on 10. I might be wrong. You could let us know in the comments about my assumptive behavior. I don't want to make an ass of you and me and all that shit. But I do kind of like the way that this kind of feels like a lifestyle song where he has whatever habits or behaviors he has. Because, like, let's be real, everybody got vices. Some people be, like, mad into ice cream. And some people be mad into other shit. And, like, everybody got the things they do that, like, I know I used ice cream, but sugar's drugs, motherfuckers. Let's just be real about that shit. But like everybody has their habits, and maybe in his case he's promiscuous, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's whatever it is, but he's just kind of describing this is who I am and this is the way I've been living. And then it almost just feels like the anchor of life isn't appealing to him and he's just going to be who he is. And maybe it's even just like saying goodbye to other people's vices and habits and ways of being, and like, nah, I have the way I live that I'm comfortable with and I'm good with that. Because like it really does end on this like fucking positive note and shit. Like, you know, say the devil's my savior, but I don't pay no heed, so fuck what you think, I'm gonna be me. And I'll go on shining like brand new. Bitch, I'm on my glow up. That's what he's saying. I'll never look behind me, my troubles will be few. I'm on my glow up and I'm winning. Like, what? That's a hard way to end this song. So, like, I really appreciate, like, that it almost feels like a fuck you to the conformist way that other people be. And maybe it really is, like, peer pressure of drugs, so it's like an anti-drug song. Like he's trying to, like, you know, like I don't fully know the angle on that element of it, but it does feel like a desire to live in the way I want. And like, yo, listen, if you ain't gonna be cool, or like if that doesn't fit into it, whatever, goodbye stranger, it's been nice. But I gotta say, the way he sings that shit is so hooky. Like it is such a earworm. Like, goodbye stranger, it's been nice. And you just, that's stuck in your head all day. The whole way. Like, they're so good at hooks. Like, man, motherfuckers got to study hook game more from these rock dudes. They really know what they doing over here. I don't feel like we need to, like, really play on the poetry that much. It's alright. I don't feel like I'm compelled to speak on it more than the general overall topic of it. What I love is the way the song builds up and explodes and has different energy. And I feel like, again, through the music, it sort of adds to the story, and brings this whole element where we'd be remiss to not talk about how like the song kind of evolves and ends on such a chaotic, more intense front where like you just feel like turning up harder and harder by the end of the track. I'm like, I like that a lot. I think the drummer really excels. I think everything about this is cohesive, put together in such a smooth transitional way where it's like, it makes me kind of wish we did more shit like what Travis Scott did with Astro World, or not Astro, the song he did with Drake, whatever the fucking one he did with Drake's called. Is it Astro World? I don't know. I think it's the
Well,
album.
Astro World is the album.
Yeah, the song he did with
Sicko
Drake
Mode.
there.
Sicko
Sicko
Mode.
Mode. Like, that shit was brilliant. Like, it was like, man, we need to do a lot more of that in hip hop, where like we really evolve vibes and shit. Like, I guess Kendrick be doing shit like that. And you'll notice people fucking love it when people really do shit like it, and you feel that element in it. I guess maybe having a band gives you maybe more freedom. I don't know. But
I think there's like, I think that depends on um the atmosphere, right? Like if you make music for a certain type of place, then you're just gonna make a certain type of music. A lot of like Sicko Mode's fire, but I don't know, like Sicko Mode for like clubs and shit would have to be remixed because there's
what are
just
you
too much
saying,
like,
bro? They play Sicko Mode in the clubs all, like every time I go
yeah,
out
but
and I
it's
hear
not like
Sicko
that
Mode.
but it's
Bro,
got
I
that
hear
DJ
pretty
remix.
much the whole fucking song, all the way up until the last
Fair,
part, for down to the
fair.
Drake transition. Like, no, I'm sorry. I'll be hearing at least 75% of Sicko Mode. They be cutting songs like a
Fair.
verse in sometimes. Sicko Mode gets play in Montreal at the places I go to.
To be fair, I may not actually know.
Anyway, all I have to say, it sounds pretty brilliant. I don't know what else to comment on it. 4.75. I like it a lot, but it's not like logical song good, so it has to be a little bit less than that. And we can move on to a song that definitely caught me off guard the first time I heard it. I was like, oh, say a word. It's Breakfast in America.
Song's great.
Yo, what really bothers me is the track we listened to right before this. There's a part of the song that is absolutely something that I heard ripped off by somebody else or like whatever, and I forgot all about it, and I don't want to go back in time, but it's just crazy when you can have those moments on albums where you're like, no, hold on, somebody heard this shit and basically did it again in a future era. Whether it was deliberate or, I'm not really believing that people should get sued over shit like that. Like, it's just inspiration and it's how it be, but it's really cool when you can like hear the things that inspire other things in music. It's one of my favorite parts about going back in time. But that's not related to this song. But we all heard Gym Class Heroes did that one joint, right? Like, I was like, oh, this is the Gym Class Heroes song. Oh,
I
say
was
I was
saying
gonna
that
like,
earlier.
Like when I was thinking about like how I was gonna intro it, I was gonna like I didn't know it was on this album, so I was like, that was the only song I've ever heard. And then I was like, oh, say what? I don't think I should do that. It's on this album. It's right here, right now.
Right.
Chris,
Right.
tell us about this one. What you think about Breakfast in America?
I like this one. I like how it's just so funny how he's like showing off his girlfriend and there's this appreciation of the love he has for her. But I just like how he's like, take a look at my girlfriend. She's the only one I got. Not much of a girlfriend. I never seem to get a lot. And I just died. I died because I'm like,
He's
I've
not
been
getting
there,
no,
man. I've
not
been there,
getting none.
man.
And then he's
when you
looking across the water to seeing them California girls, and he's just wanting
like
his one
I've
that's
been
right
there,
there.
bro.
He's not getting none. Just suck it one time, please. That's all
But
he's trying to
like
say. That's what he's
there's
trying to say.
but there's this but it's I get it because I think there's also this conversation underlining it where it's like the character he may be playing, or maybe it is actually like for himself or like the singer himself. It's like there are people who, and I've been there, where it's like you kind of settle for what you can handle, and like you may
I
want more.
But
You
just
may
add
want
that like extra layer of he's a UK man's fantasizing on American stereotypes like California girls, they undeniable Daisy. Anyway,
yeah. There's that too. I mean, I like it. I think a little bit is I like it because of the nostalgia from the gym class heroes, and then I was super like, oh my god, like this is where they got it from, and that kind of plays a role into, and I think there's just this like bias feel to it because I know like the hook and everything. But like it's just really dope. I don't really have much to say about the overall lyrics. It's really just a song about how he's appreciating this woman, like his girlfriend. And then I like how in the third verse, it's like, "Don't look at my girlfriend. She is the only one I got." And having this like sense of insecurity where like I think while he's pondering about the other women and fantasizing about them, he's starting to become insecure in the third verse because he's like, "Oh fuck, like I may fuck up and lose the person that I guess genuinely loves me or like wants to spend time with me and stuff as much as I'm going through these thoughts and these emotions." And I kind of felt that. I was like, like you could be tempted to go do other things, but you also got to realize like what you have in life and what you have there. Um so I thought it was cool. Like it's a slapper. It's like a 4.7 on 5 for me. It's dope.
so I know that the man said it's not American satire, but I think that the lyric, I'm hoping it's going to come true, but there's not a lot I can do. Hey, followed by the ba da da da, is an interesting commentary on the way a lot of people approach their dreams. Like, weirdly, people look at me like, wow, you actually say what you're going to do. And that's honestly high key one of my biggest selling points is apparently like, okay, we'll try our best to be at 1 o'clock, but we'll be there on Sunday doing the review and then we show up. Apparently that type of shit is too much for a lot of people. A lot of people out there will remain in the wishing and dreaming phase and they'll dibble and dabble, but at the end of the day they're just going to put blockers in their mind where there's not a lot I can do. Oh well, move on. And then there is that second verse where I think it tries to make it bigger than just like, oh, my girlfriend's here and I'm not getting none, and oh wow, those California girls probably be putting out like crazy, especially if all you see is the movies, right? Because that's the
Right.
reference point. I don't know. He said something in an interview about how he's just thinking about like various stereotypes of America because they hadn't been to America at this. This was like the album they were hoping would blow them up in America, which apparently it did. Um, and having kippers for breakfast because everyone's a millionaire. I'm a winner. I'm a sinner. Do you want my autograph? Like it's almost like this fantasy of trying to be what you're seeing on TV, but then relegating it back to your basic ass life and like, oh, there's nothing I can do. Chances are, my mans, wash the dishes, broski, clean the fridge. Anytime I ever cleaned the fridge unasked, it was an amazing time. it was that like next level shit.
Sloppy of
Best of
sloppy.
shits. Yo, clean the fridge is definitely one of the greatest moves. I'm not really down that often. Like, it's a high level of effort. But, yo, I brought it up in one of the tracks. I literally bring it up and then say I'm not actually going to clean the fridge.
First you lose weight, then you clean the fridge, and you're squirting all over.
But, yeah, that's bars right there. But, like, end of the day, it's facts. But, like, if somebody cleaned your fridge, Olivia, I'm saying you may have a higher level of appreciation than somebody that sits on a couch and doesn't clean the fridge. So if man's is, like, watching TV, which is kind of implied with the stereotypes and shit, and, like, but it's also, like, bro, I'll be at the lunch table at work listening to motherfuckers talk about how dead ass they don't fucking do no chores. And like those stereotypes that you hear on YouTube where men ain't really contributing to housework, anecdotally, broski, it made me start doing dishes more and shit for how little men's that I worked with in the past actually contributing shit. So maybe that's why the hole gets dry. Because like the labor efforts are split in such a way where lady is too stressed to like relax into a point of lubrication, and man's ain't doing no massages or nothing. He's just watching TV going la da da da. Anyhow, fucking how. I think that was a great fucking little segment. I'm not gonna lie, that was off the dome there, but song's a 5. I don't even know if I like the music that much in terms of my preferences and taste, but the composition, the way it flows, the airy nature of it all, and it made me be like, yo, scatting is an underutilized vocal technique in pretty much all genres of fucking music in the modern era, because, I don't know, when Designer did it, we made fun of him for some reason, but high key is pretty dope. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, half that drill, like, sound effects and shit, it's just scatting, and motherfuckers make fun of it, but, like, yo, it's pretty cool when it's done good. That's all I'm trying to say. And I know scatting also means poop, but it also is a musical thing. Who would have thought? Anyway, I don't know what else to say about this track except that, like, the music kind of reminds me of a carnival at parts, but when I don't hear Travis McCoy fucking rapping, it does make me sad. And it's hard for me to go to this version of the song compared to the last version because that's how I got introduced to it. But it is brilliantly done. Anyway, Oh Darling is next. All right, Chris, what do you think about Oh Darling?
I like this. I like this like sense of insecurity and feeling not feeling like he's succeeding, whether it be in his career or in his relationship, and he's looking for that reassurance with her. And it also feels like maybe he seems like he's fucked up and trying to get back and trying to like fix things. Um, it's a little slower. It wasn't really something that I kind of like was jamming to. I like the change in pace just because it does show diversity within the project. I like the piano. That was really, really cool. I like the change in voice. I think it's like verse 2 or verse 3. Anyway, there's like a higher pitched voice. That changes things. And I think it was cool just because like I wasn't expecting it. And sometimes unexpected things are cool. Um, it was okay. It wasn't really one that kind of like stood out to me. I did like how in the outro though of the song there was like he's really reinforcing that he's gonna get to her, and he's kind of like trying to just show her that he really loves her. Um, but yeah, it's okay. Like it wasn't the toppity top. Um, it was like a 4. It's like okay, this is good.
Y'all gotta remember that every human alive has their own subjective tastes when it comes to this shit, and this shit was more like it was not it for me. I feel like everything I heard before this was such brilliance, and then this one came on and it was a little bit snoozy. Is it well made? Yeah, but like I had a lot of trouble getting into it. Partly, I find the lyrics a little not my cup of tea either. Like this sounds like a dude who wanna smash, who isn't smashing, and is so thirsty about smashing that he be out there saying shit like, I'm gonna catch you, lady. Catch you, lady. I'm like, I kind of get how, like, sure, that's how shit may be in love song land. But now it's 2023, and we know things. And that's some weird ass obsessive, and I don't know if it's hot. Maybe some people like that shit, but I'm pretty sure like that kind of energy is frowned upon today, and like you're not necessarily supposed to like. It almost
Like
feels
the
like he's
behavior.
like it almost feels like he's stalking the chick.
I
Like
mean, it's
he's
weird because like I feel like the behavior, of course, is very weird, and like if you were
And
to
if
act
you
upon
think
it
you're
in
gonna
today,
run, well, you know, I'm gonna be around you, all about you, always by your side. I'm gonna dream
and
about
then
you,
there's
scheme
that.
about you, love you all the time. Like if I said this to you right now, any person
Yeah.
watching this, man or woman, I just said those words to you,
Oh
you'd
my
kind of
god.
be like, Holden, you're a fucking creep. And
Yo,
I'm
relax,
like,
boy.
and I'm like, yeah, because that's obsessive, broski. That's like that kind of weird fabric. And don't get me wrong, maybe it's satire, because again, but they said it's not. So I'm going to assume this is just their attempt at this kind of, oh, I'm really obsessed with you, girl. You got my heart so infatuated. You're all I think about, da 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 da. And I'm like, maybe that's hot, and I'm missing the pulse on this shit. It happens sometimes. People be like, Holden, you're thinking too much about this shit. And I'm like, yeah, but 70s rock guys had a creepy relationship with young women too. So that's just be what I'm not accusing Supertramp of shit. I'm saying the overall culture of it all was kind of weird. There was like groupie magazines targeting teenagers and shit. There's a lot of weird stuff happening in America back then. That's all I'm trying to say. So hearing these kind of lyrics in my understanding and context of the actual culture of what was associated with this genre of music back in the day, it's a little bit like eesh to me, and it makes it harder for me to get into the song. Maybe that's mad unfair, but it doesn't help that I also am not really feeling the sound. So for me, this one was a hard one to fully like love. It's okay. It just makes me think, man, this is a little bit obsessive in a not so fun way. I'm gonna give it like a 3.75. This is not my favorite one. Sorry if this offends you and this is a song you got married to or some shit. I don't know. It just is what it is for me. Feel
Yeah.
free to criticize me in the comments or however it be. I know it. I can feel it in my soul when I'm on certain topics where I'm like, nah, this is not going to hit everyone right. Anyway, I do take the long way home to my points when I describe things, and I'm not very like concise.
This is
Chris,
why.
hold
See,
on.
this
Chris
this is
takes the
why I
long way
take the
home.
long way home.
If you were on Twitch, you would have heard the song and watched Chris take the long way home in his life. How do you feel about this song?
This is why I take the long way home. I want to avoid all the things I got to deal with when I'm at home, like this, like being attacked on my Sunday stream.
What, Chris? You pulled the shots out. Anyhow,
Um,
y'all could catch us at twitch.tv/behind that suit, where YouTube is not going to mess up our lives on copyright, and then you can hear us and vibe with us Sundays in the afternoon, probably around noon Eastern Standard, but we could start as late as 2, depending on how drunk we get the night before. Moving back into the show, Chris, tell us about how you feel on this
um,
song.
I like this song. I mean, I really like this song. I kind of really resonated with it when you're feeling in like just in life when shit's really going really kind of down the drain. You're not really feeling respected, loved, and you're just kind of trying to figure out where you're at in life. Sometimes you just gotta take the scenic route, bro. You just gotta like take the long way home and think and like just process what's ever happening. I like how he goes. So you think you're Romeo, you're playing a part in a picture show. Well, take the long way home. Take the long way home. Kind of ensuing like you think you're the main character and what's happening, and you think you're this like lover boy, whatever. But go take a walk. Go process your thoughts. And it's just like, man, that
Why?
hit. Like,
Because you're a joke of the neighborhood. Why should you
yeah,
care if you're feeling good? No one care about you, motherfucker. You joke of the hood. Dude, that's like a hard
it's
slap, is what I'm trying to say. Like sometimes
yeah.
them simple, nice people words is fucking hitting harder than the harsh words.
I mean, look, even the chorus, there are times that you feel you're a part of the scenery, all the greenery is coming down, boy, and then your wife seems to think you're part of the furniture. Oh, it's peculiar. She used to be so nice. And
But then you stopped
man,
eating pussy and you just sat on the couch and watched TV.
I mean, or life changed and she just became mean. Or I don't even think it's that. Truly, I think it's like
I was just
in
tying
the
it into
context
our
of the
the other song.
for sure. But I think like in the concept of the album, there is this like you're on this journey, you're becoming famous, you're traveling, you're living this life, and you're kind of dealing with this situation where your wife is now what I think is like she's being impacted from like your life. and are now having to deal with these results where she may be, because it seems like she's not really treating him well. When lovely days turn into lonely nights, you take a trip to the city lights and take the long way home. Like it seems like she may not be treating him well, or may not be like loving him the way
Hey,
he
we got a
needs to be
bit.
loved.
Shit, I don't even remember the last time we got a bit. Thanks, Olivia.
A, um, and it's just like it's really, I think everyone can kind of relate to this, on the sense of like you just need to be alone and you want to just avoid the situations when you go home, whatever your situation is, whether you live with people, with somebody, or like even just by yourself. Sometimes it's like the place that you call home is probably the scariest place, and I really relate to that a lot. And I think that there is like, this song is just really great, and the way that they take you out of the song and kind of give you that space with the music to just flow with it is also really really good. But I do like how there's this constant theme of like trying to figure out how to manage both the life he's living and his like personal love life. Like this was, to me, this was like a 4.7 again. Like this was up there. Like,
I feel like the long way home could also be like hitting the massage parlor, you know? Or
yeah,
like the
yeah,
strip
strip
club
club
or the
afties.
mistress's crib, you know, one of them things.
Mm.
Um, you're out there doing it like that, and then everybody knows what you're doing, and you don't really care because you're feeling good. You're out there smashing, doing your thing. Maybe you're a player or whatever, and it does a little bit feel like, those more pure times of nuclear familyness, of like good civilized behavior and shit. But fair. I guess it is a bit of a criticism of living the fast life in that regard, and being out there with looser women and not settling down, and then you get to the later phases of life where you realize maybe you should have invested more in having people around you when you're old and shit, and like not chasing tail the whole time. And as much as it might come off weird, a lot of old people who are big time players do lament on that one fact that they kind of wish, all things considered, that they had tried to pursue a partner earlier than old as fuck and unavailable and shit. Not
I
everyone's
do
going to be
think
a Leonardo DiCaprio, is what I'm saying.
I do
Um,
think there is also an aspect of more just this might still be with a wife, because even in chorus too, it's like, and when you're on top of the stage, it's so unbelievable, oh unforgettable how they adore you, but then your wife seems to think you're losing your sanity.
yeah, I mean, there's also probably just like trying to live with
Hmm.
both versions of life. Like, I'm not going to act like I'm anything, but, you know, going to a cannabis cup, doing mushrooms, having a whole vibe. You're out there as a rapper, this, that, the next thing, and then you come back to like, I work in an office. Like, it's you're gonna take the long way home sometimes because you're trying to
It's
pursue some
also,
shit,
but I could
and it
also see
could.
the other side too, where like if you are in like relationships and you've been like heavily committed through the process of like, let's say for my life example, it's like I'm in a relationship trying to figure out how to like be a rapper and stuff and do all these things. And then once like I start going out and I start getting different types of like attention,
Mm.
comments, this, that, whatever, that could also play into like how
But yeah,
I'm
but then
feeling in
there's
my
like
life.
you never see what you want to see forever playing to the gallery. Then there's
Right.
like, okay, so does that mean that this shit is more like you suck at this shit? You're on Pipe Dreamland. You out there like rapping at Blue Dog. If you in Montreal, you know what I'm saying. Your whole life and you never elevate. No, I love to Blue Dog. We still rapping
Shit.
at Blue Dog, but like,
Shit.
but like,
Yo,
no,
ow.
check it. You got the
I
wife and
feel.
kids now, and like
Mm,
you really trying to push this shit,
mm,
and like that's really all it is. Like, no disrespect to nobody, we all building and
mm,
doing our thing, but
mm.
in the
The real,
context of where I could see how you're feeling this is worth it and the people around you are kind of goofing on your lifestyle. I mean, I'm a 35-year-old who does mushrooms, so I
I mean,
mean,
the other side too
to
could
be
also
fair,
be
mushrooms
like,
got hella cool lately, so like it's not even it's like it's not even saying
mushrooms are
anything to do
dope.
it. Like they just got really
Um,
cool all of a sudden, but to a certain crowd, it's not cool, I guess. Anyway.
but I could also see how like maybe even with that, like questioning if things are real or not. It's like the attention you get at home with your wife and kids, or even just like the person you live with, right? Like that's a specific type of attention. That's a specific type of connection and bond you have, right? And then you start like feeding off of this like other ego driven attention you're getting from like other people and shit. And like that could also be what he's questioning too. Like you're starting to feel like, oh, this whatever groupie or this woman you met in my case, right, is like, oh, maybe she really does love me, but it's really just based off like the fame of it, the atmosphere, the vibe. Like
The
this
thing
isn't
is
really
it's
true
not
connection.
like it could be about that, but it could just be
Yeah.
about. And I like the way they write it like that, where you're kind of left with it could be about shit, but
Mhm.
it could also not be about a woman and more just like
The
ignoring your
lifestyle.
family to go pursue it.
Mhm.
Like imagine touring when you're 47 and you're breaking even and like it's not crazy money and you're missing your whole fucking kid's life and you miss the high school graduation because you're in like Kitchener doing no disrespect to Kitchener, but like you just out there and you're not at home with your kid and you're playing at some mid-level place.
I mean, like
Like,
it's just not even that. Like you could also
and this is like
sometimes.
a good version of the story because you're not even in your city in that version. You're doing okay if you're not in your city,
I mean,
unless
I
you're
was just
from
gonna tangent
Kitchener.
off that. Like even sometimes, maybe not my wife or anything, but like my
You're not
moms, my
married,
families,
Chris.
they're having like family events, and they're like, "Yo, are you free on this day?" And it's like, I can't. Like, I gotta either perform or I gotta
Yo, I
prep or
missed
I
a
gotta stream or
whole lot
this.
of shit for this
And that
shit.
still applies. Like that's still that may not be like your direct whatever, but
You
that's
took
still
the
like
long
people that
way home.
like sometimes you just gotta really take the long way home and
Yo,
remind
dead ass
yourself.
though. I don't know if I'm making this up, but I feel like I have vivid memories of being in the car and my parents. I guess my mom bumped this too, but I seem to remember my dad and like this song would be on and they'd just be singing it along. But just really, you took the long way home, and I can remember being like, "Oh, we're on the long way home, haha! This is the perfect song for it." And I don't know if I'm making that memory up or not, but it feels like some shit my dad would do, and like the kind of shit where like every time he took the long way home for like 6 months, he would play that shit. Like that's the kind of vibe he would be. So like I feel like I didn't know this song until I heard "You Took the Long Way," and I'm like, oh, say word, I really do know this song. I heard this song a whole lot when I was little,
Crazy to
but it's
think
pretty
how like
good.
music impacts like how they have that how music just has that control over you and you end up just doing things
But
to be a
another
part
like,
of the song.
ooh, another interesting point on a songwriting perspective, right? Because we'd be doing the rap shit, and one of the things rappers like to do when they amateurs is avoid repetition of any capacity because they don't know how to write in a way to like repeat shit. And they look at it like weak sauce, but then you look at like bangers that like last the time, and like how much of this song is honestly, you took the long way home. You don't even want it to be more. You're kind of looking forward to when he says it again because you don't know if you want to sing along to the rest of it. You're comfortable just singing it. You could picture the live show. They don't even need to say that lyric. They probably don't even need to sing. They could probably just shut the fuck up and the crowd carries the whole song. And
Which I
honestly,
think is part of it.
that's hard.
Like the
Like
live
it's
show
hard.
aspect.
And I feel like, yeah, because this is their sixth studio album, I believe Wikipedia told me. So if I'm wrong, that's what my memory told me from Wikipedia. Anyway,
Mhm.
I think it's like a 5. It's a really cool song. Is it my favorite, like preference wise? Nah, but like, yeah, it's a pretty good song. Like it feels like nobody's gonna be mad at you for putting this shit on unless they really got a bone to pick with Supertramp.
One last thing. I like how it says I didn't I like how it says you took the long way home, not I took. Like
Yeah,
you
because he's
like
talking
he's
about
speaking.
like you. It's
Yeah,
not him.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, it's like that Sam Smith song, like the "Mommy don't know, Daddy's
Right,
getting high." That's Sam
right.
Smith or whatever talking about next man's. He's not doing it. He's judging next man's for doing it.
No,
It's basically like it
I
kind of reminded me of that track a little bit.
I agree. I think it was cool because it's like sometimes like for me personally, it's like sometimes I like talk to myself and like how I do certain shit and how I live life. And when he's like, "You took the long way home," it's like so maybe I'm projecting my
You know,
own
Chris be
things, but it's
walking
like,
like a 2 hour walk when he could take the bus. He quite literally will take the long way home.
yeah, bro, people who know me. They're like, "You're taking the bus from Von Dome," and I'm like, "No, I'm walking, 20 minutes."
That's not a bad walk. I seen him walk 2.5 hours.
Yeah, like, I walked home from Blue Dog.
2.5 hours. He's like, no, it's this far. I'm like, no, it's not, bro. There's this many kilometers. You guys are all exaggerating on your
Bro,
fucking
I
walking
was,
speeds.
yo, not trying to brag, but like if you're three monsters deep and you're drunk, 2 hour walk home is chill. Like that's a good way to like go to bed after.
Fair.
I got to
I'm
change
not
my
ever
habit.
3 monsters deep. I'm not that caffeinated at that time of night. If anything, I'm taking naps and shit and trying to avoid coffee at that point. Maybe I should drink coffee more. I don't know where I'm going with this. Lord, is it mine? Lord, is it mine?
I'm just
Because
gonna
I
get this
said
out
it
of the
was
way.
not like a Uber. Chris is like, I don't like this song. That's an I don't like this song if I ever heard anything from Chris.
Um, it's just not for me. It's really slow. It's just like, oh man, I'm okay. I need to change this. It's not really hitting. Um, it's good though. Like as produced, written, composed, and all of that. It's like it's really really good, and I like appreciate it. And it's okay. This is great. That's not for me. This is just not for me. So yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Um, yeah, it's cool. I gave it like a 4 on 5 because it's really good. I don't have anything to say.
He's like, it's really good. Don't beat me up, Supertramp fans. I don't like this song.
Ah,
Basically, this song, when I first heard it, I was picturing a meeting where they're like, yo, you need something for the bitches. And this is the for the bitches song. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It feels so like that to me. I could be like off. Y'all could say what you want about it. But like it's some soft shit. I could picture some slow dancing going down. Now that's when you snuggle up. It's, you know, all the little lighters come up. It's more romantic in the room. And just the sounds of it. Even though the song is just like really like this bleak fucking expression of like trying to find niceness in it. Like it's really not romantic lyrically at all. That's just the vibe I pictured on the sound, okay? I also felt this one super hard to get into, so my bad if I'm being disrespectful, but like it just seems so airy, like fake philosophical, like the kind of shit you would spit mad game at a girl to try to get her to think you're deeper than you is. Like that's what this whole song feels to me. Like if only I could find a way to feel your sweetness through the day, the love that it is a romantic-y. What the fuck is wrong with me? Anyway, I'm done trying to go on this one. I didn't have that much of an interest. I didn't try very hard. It felt like some wishy-washy shit that they like threw on the album to like balance it out and make sure they had a track for this demo. That was my feeling on it. I don't know if I'm off. Maybe they like the rest of their fucking catalog sounds like this. I don't know. I just know that this one felt more contrived and less interesting than most of the other ones I heard. And maybe it's just because the vibe isn't for me neither, Chris. Maybe it's just what it is. Chris was nicer. I feel like I was meaner. I'm sorry, Supertramp fans. If this is like your wedding song or shit, my bad, everyone. But like that's the thing. Like I feel like it's some shit you get married to or some shit. Like I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to just keep rambling because otherwise I'll be just another nervous wreck. Yeah, we did blitz through it that fast. All right, Chris, how do you feel about just another nervous wreck?
um, I like that we got back up onto like this upbeat pace. It just had more vibe to it, more energy. So that was cool. Had me bopping through when I was listening to it. Um, but I like this idea of like admitting he needs help, admitting he feels alone, and again, it's this parallel of like trying to deal with like people and how to deal with like the situation, right? Like yeah, the way he starts off, I'm feeling so alone now. They cut the telephone. Yeah, my life is just a mess. And just even with those couple of lines, it's like the rawness and purity of what he's saying is just like, okay, I can feel that. Like, especially when the phone doesn't work and you're trying to reach out and you feel like you have no like capability. It's like, bro, our phones die now and we feel like we cannot communicate. And we live in a world where we've got like you can just ask
Bro,
or
we have
whatever, right?
battery packs now. What are you saying? Your phone don't
Well,
die.
there's that. I mean, bro, people's phones still die.
No,
That's
I hear you. I mean, I left my battery pack at the bar last night. I was sad.
that sucks. But then it's just the way he continues. I threw it all away. Now I could have made a fortune. I lost the craving for success, and it's like, man, like I may not understand it to where he was at. Maybe he's like super successful, and then like he kind of threw it away. But even just on the journey of trying to be successful, you get these times where it's like yo, I've done all this work and it's not working, and I don't know if I can go on. Like, I don't know if I can continue. And you need somebody to kind of be that like shoulder you can lean on and like, yo, you got this. Like, it's gonna work. We're working towards it, and just keep going. So I did relate to that. Um, it's cool. Like, I enjoyed it. It's a lot at this point. I'm kind of like, all right, I'm getting to that point where I'm feeling a little bit drained with the project, but I do like how we came back with more energy from the last one, and it's just dope. It's dope. It's just another 4 on 5 to me. Like, it doesn't have anything less than what we've been getting. It doesn't have anything so much more, but it's just right there. It sounds great, and it's got everything you're looking for so far. So 4 on 5.
It was a cool song. Like, I feel like earlier on the album there was like more optimism and shit, and this one is taking like a different kind of tone on it. It's like you're going through life, and all you're kind of left with is this like looking back at like every choice you made wrong, and it's almost like this perspective of trying to balance and reconcile where you're at today with where you could have been and should have been, and how, like, you know, at a certain point, especially I find in your 30s, it happens to everybody, you start to really realize, I guess, how not special you are ever going to be. Not that you are, but like you're probably never going to be like remembered generations from now, no matter what you accomplish today, which is like, I know, a super big thing to say, but it's also like a kind of facts thing too. And then, you know, as you're trying to balance through it, like I think like lines like, while in the mirror she admires a brand new dress, it's almost like you pursue everything, but it's never really going to be enough for everybody. There's always going to be like somebody looking at the next thing, or especially if you're chasing something like this entertainment game, right? Like, yo, I could get my moment, but it's going to be over fast. Because, you know, like, you're just going to have to kind of always get used to this considering what could have been mentality, I guess, and learn how to beat it in a sense. But this song really like plays with that a lot. Like, so much for liberation. They'll have a celebration. Yeah, I've been under too much stress. Like, bro, that could be like half the conversations we dead ass have. You know, just kind of again boiled down into like 3 concise lines. Then this like almost erratic, don't give a damn, fight while you can, kill, shoot 'em up, they'll run amok, shout Judas loud, they'll hear a soldier sailor, who's your tailor. This reminds me of people's anti-government sentiment when like you're young and it's like you have to fight while you still have the energy to do it and whatever, and then you find out everyone in the system's betrayed you, so you start calling it out and we'll get louder, we'll figure it out, you know, and then everyone's now a nervous wreck. And it's an interesting like idea to me. And then it's like watching people change, or like how that person as they get older, and this, I used to think she was so nimble, I would have bought her as a symbol, but now I can't afford the pen to sign her checks. So it's like maybe this is the idea of freedom, or people used to glamorize, and then at the end of the day they're killing it, they're whoever they are, and you're just kind of where you're at, like looking at this whole situation, and everything just kind of gets bleak and shit. And I'm like, man, this is an interesting like look at a lot of things. I think that ended up really playing out for a lot of people trying to like deal with life in the lower ends of society, trying to like manage it all, make sense of it all, and cope as a community. And it's like that's the ending point of the song, and I'm like, damn, I guess that's really what it'd be like in life. That's a pretty interesting synopsis of how a lot of people, at least in the American culture, live. So I thought that was mad interesting, or at least the Western world. I like the upbeat nature of it. I think it's, again, earwormy. It's got all kinds of catchy hooks and shit built into it. I'm going to give it a 4.5. It's like a good song. I agree with Chris. This deep in, I'm not sure it's like reinventing the wheel, but lyrically I feel like it does. And that really makes up for like maybe sonically feeling a little bit like what I heard before on the project. Anyway, as you can tell, we mad into casual conversations. Okay, go.
Man, so like this one's like one of those soft, touchy, emotional, Chris Chromey ones for me, and I really felt. I felt like he's trying to just have a conversation to figure out what's gonna happen next with this person. Whether it be like an actual person or maybe it's like a metaphor for like the life he's living and he's just kind of talking to it. But it's just like, the way it starts, it doesn't matter what I say. You never listen anyway. Just don't know what you're looking for. And I've been in that situation so many times where I'm just trying to figure out like how I can be whatever better or change for whatever it is I'm trying to like impress or connect with. And it's just, man, imagination's all I have. But even then, you say it's bad. Can't just can't see why we disagree. And I'm just like, yep, yep. That's some real shit. This is the shit you think of when you're
I
on the
mean,
long way home, and then like you get
that's
home,
facts.
and you're
And then you
like, look,
have the
wait,
conversation. You shouldn't have
and
taken the
then
long way home. You left me to go fucking clean the dishes.
like I
Chris is,
respond with imagination's all I have, but even then you say it's bad. That's my rebuttal to the dishes.
I
Anyway,
imagine myself washing the dishes. Isn't that good enough? I put the mental and emotional labor
I
into visualizing the act.
all I
Um,
all I want is
Chris is
casual
dying.
conversations. That's all I want, but they just bore me. And then I could go this all day. Anyway, it's real shit. It's real shit. Like
Chris is saying,
the
I
the
never felt anybody write about me so vividly before.
no, but like verse 3 in the beginning. You try to make me feel so small until there's nothing left at all. Why go on? Just hoping that we'll get along. And I'm just like, bro, this is so simple and basic, but it's just so real. Like
There's
it's
no
just so like
communication left
these
between
are
us.
these
But is it me or you who is to blame?
do
There's
do
nothing I
do
can
do
do.
do
Yes, you're
do.
fading out of view.
It's
Don't know
like
if I
just the
feel joy or
anxiety
pain. It's
ridden
such a
through this,
shame.
like seamlessly. There's like you can hear the anxiety and you can hear the disconnect while like he wants to have this conversation and while he's trying to like address this. It's like, ah, man, this was like a 4 on 7. Nothing got a 5 on 5 to me, just to be fair. But this is like another 4.7 on 5. This
I
is
mean,
really really good.
I feel like this is the point where a man's is like broken inside and like, you have your honeymoon period and everything's exciting, and then maybe all of a sudden you get a little more boring, or maybe you're the asshole and they're more boring to you, and you forget that everybody's boring and you're supposed to listen anyway. And I don't know, like it's just like trying to cope with like this depressing state in life. It feels like he's really in one of them funks, and I think it's really communicated well. Like his lack of interest is conveyed in the tone, which made me have a lot of lack of interest in the song. But like from an art point of view, it's actually really well done. I think it feels like the end of a relationship or a circumstance, like something. It's just like you don't have the will left to fight. You're just thinking about all these things you feel related to it. You just don't. It's just not worth it no more. And then you kind of realize, like, you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad this is done. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's how non glamorous it really is at the end of the day when you finally get to these points of acceptance and shit. Like sometimes I feel like we build it all up, but really it's like, huh, I guess I'm glad now. And that's the moment it's over, just this little simple epiphany you may have after this
I'd say
deep
like
sense of thoughts. And I'm like, that's really
chasing
cool.
happiness, like chasing happiness, right? And I think that's part of it is like we go into relationships, in my opinion, the way I'm interpreting the song, or even like we chase certain dreams and goals because we want to be happy, we want to be successful, we want this shit to work out, we want it to feel like we've accomplished stuff. And I think that like once you get to that part when in whatever it may be, and you start to really get come to terms with like, okay, this isn't working. I think the happiness comes with understanding and accepting that like, oh shit, like if we stayed together or if I still continued on this path, like I'm just never going to be happy. So I'm happy or I'm glad that like my my path to find happiness is part like this is part of it. This ending part, this ending chapter, this closing of the book, and this part is part of me getting happiness. And I'm sorry for losing part so many times.
Happiness. It's a wonderful thing. Child Division is the last track on this album. Hey Chris, what do you think of Child Division, Mr. Child Division? That's right, I called you a Child Division, motherfucker. What are you gonna
I
say about it?
I kind of don't get it. I'm having one of those Chris Crow moments where I'm just like, I don't think I get the song. Like, it's dope. It's great. Like, it's a whole trip.
Yo,
It's
I dead
vibe.
ass. I might be wrong, but it kind of feels like again a criticism on that like rock star life shit, or like you're trying to make music and you're trying to be out there. Well, who do you think you're fooling? You say you're having fun, but you're busy going nowhere, just lying in the sun. Like you could argue that spending as much time as I do in bars at this age of my life, it's all perspectives, right? But like some people may view that as a complete waste when I could be doing a whole bunch of other shit. Um, a baby making song.
I mean, I would
Interesting.
agree. I was gonna
But
agree with that too. Like, just the whole last part, the last 4 minutes of this
I
song.
suppose you're fucking to that, but that wasn't even my first thought. You tried to be a hero, commit the perfect crime, but the dollar got you dancing. You're running out of time. So, like, you're trying to be your noble 21-year-old self, representing the cause as your music's pure. Then all of a sudden, you're 35, hustling pickle merch, trying to be like chasing dollars, running out of time. I felt attacked, is what I'm trying to say. You're messing up the
Hey,
water. You
Holden.
roll it in the wine. You're poisoning your body. Oh shit! I be smoking weed and shit. You're poisoning your mind. We out there doing it, and you gave me Coca-Cola and all this other cultural shit. Like, what are we really advocating? And then people criticizing the lifestyles that you live. So like, people be like, "Yo, you be smoking weed and doing this, that, the next thing." It's not that different. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then there's more to this life. It's time we did something right. Child of vision. So a child of vision, you can interpret that as somebody that's like constantly like living in their dreams or trying to like focus on their like shits. You could call it a hustler in our mentality. But arguably, in another perspective, you chasing pipe dreams and wasting your motherfucking life. Won't you listen? Find yourself a new ambition. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Bars.
I heard it all before. You're saying nothing new. I'm like you listen to people when they talk about your art, especially when you a songwriter. This hit personal. I thought I saw a rainbow, but I guess it wasn't true. Like your dreams is pointless. Like everything isn't real. And then it almost feels like this next part is like responding. You cannot make me listen. I cannot make you hear. You'll find your way to heaven. I'll meet you when you're there. So it's like, okay, we at this impasse of shit, and I guess I'll see you when you fucking die in heaven. Like fuck you. That's what I took from that part. And then the end part is we have no reason to fight because we both know that we're right. Child division. Once you listen, find yourself a new ambition, which is a bit interesting because it kind of flips it and has this like, listen, you live your life the way you want. I live how I want. We're both right to ourselves. It doesn't matter. But won't you listen? And maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I took this song. And then 4 minutes of drugs and sex in the middle via the music. So that's what it kind of came off as. It's long. This will highly depend on my mood. At the end of an album review live stream, I'm a little like, motherfucking, this is a long song. In a nice vibe when I'm not in that moment, it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed listening to it when I was more active. I think I was walking around or something the first time I heard it, and I feel like this song in itself, like I could see how you're fucking to it. Actually, I'm just being active. I could see how you're getting to that point. But it's also just such an interesting look at how forever people in arts and shit are just struggling with trying to be themselves in a system that really is built at breaking down your fucking ego and making you feel like the nothing that you are in this music game. So I thought it was really cool. The intro's hard as
It
fuck.
feels like life.
The intro comes in on some like, yo, this the end of the album. We go in. I got it a 4.75. It's a pretty cool song. Chris, what do you think about the album as a whole?
As a whole, I like
Yeah.
it. I think like I think it's actually really good. Production wise, composing, and just the way that the sounds flow from track to track are really good. I like the consistency in the theme. I think that they did really well at like showing you the both sides of like living this famous life and how to live with like normal life and maintain both things. So that was really cool. I like the just the diversity and the talent, like just the singing, the different types of schemes they were using, the different flows essentially they were using. I like how they like switched up their voices for certain parts and had like just different effects. And every song also, as much as some songs I may not have liked or may not have been for me, I feel like individually came with their own atmosphere. Like if any of
Mm,
these songs individually would have came on, I don't think I would need the full project to really be into it. I think I could actually just kind of get into it solo. So I do think that that also is really
except for
great.
like the ones you don't like.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I
Those ones wouldn't help you get into the album, I think.
probably not, but like, I think they still have that same ability to just be like, I'm not gonna tell somebody to turn it off. I'm not gonna completely like
Bro,
change it.
if
Like
somebody,
I
if that,
just,
I think it's Oh Darling was the slow shitty one. If that shit came on, I would hit next.
I mean, it depends, bro. Like if I'm sitting there and I'm having a couple drinks and
That
"Oh
that's
Darling"
just me,
comes on and like I'm with the
bro.
girl,
The
I'll be
last
like,
thing I wanted, bro, I will be going on some Latin shit at that point. Like we moving on from this.
I mean, listen. I guess we work in different ways. I want to
I'm
touch
not.
your
I'm not.
soul. I want to touch your soul before I touch you.
I mean, sure, sure. um,
Um, I ended up giving the album.
what's up,
I'm just
Pixie? It's
gonna
good
call it
seeing
like
you.
a 4.2 on 5 is where I'm leaving it at. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, this album is a classic. Why? Because my moms and everybody else from back then probably still bump this shit to this day. It got hella reactions on Facebook from people of all age groups. It's undeniably a classic. And then, arguably, listening to this shit, it's like, yeah, it's like 10 unique songs that flow together in a way that comments on a theme, whether or not it was intentional or not. I think they made a good satirical piece looking at America from the perspective of Hollywood, in a sense. And a lot of the ideas seem to kind of stem from that, chase and exploring those things, this like pursuit of happiness, but in the Hollywood kind of way, or like the way we chasing that music slash podcasting shit, the way we chase and not chase. So like content wise, I felt myself really connecting to a lot of things on this album, and really impressed with how so many of the lyrics that were written like dead ass almost 10 years before I was born are like conversations Gen Z is just discovering on TikTok, and how like it was a really big ain't shit changed moment, you know? Like it's those kinds of things I think are important and aren't explored enough in our current like way we have bigger social issues, because I think, you know, we're really bad at speaking to people in the next generation, especially as they get older and kind of more okay boomer with their shit. So like seeing this and just picturing like a bunch of people in their 20s rocking out to this, it's like, oh, say word, that's just us. But then, and then everybody sells the fuck out at one point when you realize you gotta pay rent and shit. So yeah, take care, Olivia. It was nice coming through. Remember, y'all can catch this live at twitch.tv/behind that suit in the future, and you can hear the music. We can't put that on YouTube. Um, so it's really like a crazy cool album. It has bangers. It has songs that like honestly, like who doesn't know the Logical song? Clearly, it gets used in a lot of pop culture. Like movies reference this shit. Like it has undeniable influence on. Honestly, I feel like it has these musical qualities to it in a progressive rock kind of way, where a lot of us would benefit from at least bumping more of this sound if we're really trying to like tap into a broader spectrum of art creation. It's a cool like, if you're an artist, you should probably bump this shit so you could get some inspiration album. I would put it in that world heavy, because it's really interesting. Anyway, all that to say, good album. This was a good time. Thanks, Lindell, for the recommendation. If you want to be like Lindell and do recommendations, patreon.com/behind that suit. If you don't want to be like Lindell and you want to do like the more free version, like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, put us on blast, make reaction videos on TikTok, call us out, have fun with this. Use our content wherever you want. Just credit us so we get that, like, you know, trickle traffic back and shit.
Trickle
Anyways,
traffic.
it'll be all over. We appreciate you for real. We are on Spotify and shit if that's really where you want to bump it to. Follow us on socials, all the links in the belows and all that good stuff. I'm gonna put that in the Twitch chat now so that you can see it. And overall, I hope that we gave you a pleasant experience, Supertramp fan base. Live long and prosper, everyone. And
Bye.